There is a specific feeling that every fan of martial arts comics is chasing. It is that rush of adrenaline when the underdog finally unsheathes their blade, the air vibrates with invisible energy, and a single strike changes the fate of the entire martial world. We all know the tropes. We have seen the protagonist who falls off a cliff and finds a secret manual. We have seen the heavenly demon reborn into the body of a loser. We have seen the systems, the blue screens, and the infinite leveling up. Because the genre is so incredibly saturated, finding a series that actually respects your time can feel like searching for a needle in a haystack of generic power fantasies. You start reading 1, and 10 chapters in, you realize you have read this exact same story 5 times before with different character names, but then, you find the one with art that makes your jaw drop, the one with a story that hits you emotionally, the one where the punches feel heavy and the stakes feel real. Today we are cutting through the noise. We are not just listing random titles that you can find on any generic wiki page. We are diving deep into the absolute heavyweights of the genre, the masterpieces that define what modern Murim Manhwa can be. These are the stories that combine the ancient philosophy of the martial path with the high-octane pacing of modern storytelling. Whether you are a veteran of the genre looking for your next obsession, or a newcomer wondering why everyone is talking about sects and chi cultivation, you are in the right place. We are going to explore the distinct styles, the overarching narratives, and the specific moments that make these series stand above the rest. Get ready to expand your reading list, because by the end of this video, you will have countless hours of top-tier content waiting for you. Let's get into the absolute best Murim Manhwa you need to be reading right now. Let us start with a title that is widely considered a modern classic, a series that redefined the artistic standard for the entire medium. I am talking about The Legend of the Northern Blade. If you are tired of the standard, copy-and-paste art style that plagues so many webtoons, this is your antidote. The visual identity of this series is stark, sharp, and incredibly cinematic. It utilizes shadows and motion lines in a way that makes every fight scene feel like a piece of animation suspended in time. But it is not just about the pretty pictures. The story follows Jin Mu-wan, a protagonist who begins his journey in absolute ruin. His father, the leader of the Northern Heavenly Sect, is forced to commit suicide to save his followers, and the sect is disbanded. Jin Mu-wan is left alone, powerless, and under surveillance, seemingly destined to fade away as a forgotten relic of a bygone era. What makes this story so compelling is the slow burn of his growth. He does not stumble upon a magical system or get a cheat code. He learns the martial arts of his ancestors in secret, translating the ancient texts that his enemies ignored. The pacing here is masterful. It creates a palpable sense of tension and loneliness. When he finally steps out into the world, he is not just a fighter. He is a force of nature carrying the weight of a lost legacy. The choreography of the battles is distinct, often utilizing the environment and the sheer speed of the characters to convey power rather than just big explosions. The supporting cast is equally well developed, with villains who have understandable motivations and complex relationships. The Legend of the Northern Blade is a revenge story, yes, but it is also a story about rebuilding an identity in a world that wants to erase you. It is gritty, it is beautiful, and it is absolutely essential reading for anyone who appreciates the art of visual storytelling. Moving from the dark and gritty to something that perfectly balances high-stakes action with genuine comedy, we have the phenomenon known as the return of Manhwa Sect. This series has taken the community by storm, and for good reason. It centers on Chung Myung, the Plum Blossom Sword Saint, who defeats the terrifying heavenly demon in a suicidal final stand, only to wake up 100 years later in the body of a young beggar. He rushes back to his beloved Manhwa sect, expecting to be hailed as a hero, only to find that in the last century, his sect has fallen into complete ruin. They are broke, their reputation is in the gutter, and their martial arts have been lost or diluted. This setup provides the perfect vehicle for a protagonist who is overpowered in terms of knowledge and technique but limited by a weak, new body. The magic of this series lies in Chung Myung's personality. He is not your typical stoic, brooding hero. He is chaotic, greedy, petty, and absolutely hilarious. He beats his disciples into shape, scams money from merchants to fund the sect, and generally causes havoc wherever he goes. Yet, underneath that chaotic exterior lies a deep, poignant love for his lost brothers and the legacy of Manhwa. Watching him drag his failing sect back to glory, kicking and screaming, is incredibly satisfying. The art captures the beauty of the plum blossom sword techniques with vibrant pinks and flowing motions that contrast sharply with the brutal impacts of the combat. It is a series that understands that you need levity to balance the drama. You will find yourself laughing out loud in one chapter and getting goosebumps from an epic speech in the next. It is a masterclass in pacing and character dynamics, proving that a story can be fun without sacrificing the weight of its narrative. Now, Let us shift gears to something that mixes the traditional Murim setting with a heavy dose of science fiction and ruthlessness. Nano Machine is the series for those who love a protagonist who is not afraid to break a few bones, or arms, to get what he wants. The story follows Cheon Yo-woon, an illegitimate child of the demonic cult leader. In the cutthroat politics of the demonic sect, being illegitimate means you have a target on your back from the moment you are born. He is surrounded by enemies, has no backing, and is on the verge of death when a descendant from the future appears and injects him with nanomachine technology. This fusion of futuristic AI and ancient martial arts creates a unique power system that is incredibly fun to watch. The nanomachines allow him to scan martial arts books instantly, analyze enemy movements, and even heal his body. Some might call it a cheat, and it is, but the satisfaction comes from how he uses it. Cheon Yo-woon is one of the most ruthless protagonists in the genre. He does not believe in the power of friendship. He believes in absolute dominance. Seeing him dismantle the arrogant young masters who tormented him is a guilty pleasure of the highest order. The series does not shy away from gore or brutality, fitting perfectly with the aesthetic of the demonic cult. It explores the dark side of ambition and the hierarchy of power. As he climbs the ranks, the stakes get higher, involving conspiracies that threaten the entire martial world. If you want a series that moves fast, has a savage protagonist, and blends genres in a way that feels fresh, Nano Machine is the powerhouse title you have been looking for. Next up, we have a series that bridges the gap between the modern hunter genre and the traditional martial arts world. Murim Login is an absolute gem that often flies under the radar compared to the biggest names, but it deserves a spot in the top tier. The protagonist is a weak, F-rank hunter in a modern world filled with monsters and dungeons. He stumbles upon a strange virtual reality capsule that transports him into a Murim world. Here is the twist. He can log out and bring his martial arts powers back to the real world. This dual progression system is addictive. You get to see him level up in the Murim world, learning spear technique and building relationships, and then see him shock everyone in the real world with his newfound strength. What really sells Murim Login is the character growth. The protagonist starts off as somewhat cowardly and opportunistic, but his time in the Murim world changes him. He builds a genuine family dynamic with his master and his brothers in the game world, to the point where the line between the game and reality begins to blur for him emotionally. The humor is top-notch, relying on his modern perspective clashing with ancient traditions. The action is clean and impactful, particularly because the protagonist uses a spear, which is a nice break from the endless parade of sword users in other manhwa. The side characters are vibrant and memorable, especially the Fire King, whose grumpy mentorship is a highlight of the series. It manages to balance the stat screens and system prompts with genuine martial arts philosophy, making it a perfect entry point for people who usually read leveling system manhwa but want to get into Murim. Finally, we have to talk about Gosu. If you want to see the absolute peak of power scaling and destruction, this is the one. Created by the same team behind the legendary Yongbi the Deceivable, Gosu starts with a deceptively simple premise. A young man works at a dumpling shop, seemingly just a clumsy delivery boy. However, he is actually the disciple of a supreme martial arts master who was betrayed by his subordinates. He has been trained for the sole purpose of hunting down these traitors and exacting revenge. The brilliance of Gosu is in its subversion. You think you are reading a gag comic about a dumpling delivery boy getting into funny situations, and then suddenly, he wipes out an entire landscape with a single palm strike. The art in Gosu is breathtaking, particularly in how it conveys scale. When high-level masters fight, mountains are leveled, forests are flattened, and the terrain is permanently altered. It feels like watching a battle between gods, but beyond the spectacle, the story evolves into a complex web of deceit and morality. The protagonist realizes that traitors he is hunting are not one-dimensional villains, and the legacy of his master is not as pure as he was led to believe. The plot twists are genuine and earned, shifting the narrative from a simple revenge quest to a battle for survival against ancient monsters and rival factions. The sheer weight of the combat and the intricate background detail make every chapter a visual feast. It is a completed series, which is a huge bonus, meaning you can binge the entire saga from start to finish right now without waiting for weekly updates. To wrap this up, the world of Murim Manhwa is vast, but these 5 titles represent the pinnacle of what the genre has to offer right now. Whether you are looking for the cinematic, artistic masterpiece that is Legend of the Northern Blade, the comedic and heartfelt journey of the return of the Manhwa sect, the ruthless sci-fi hybrid of Nano Machine, the addictive dual-world progression of Murim Login, or the earth-shattering power of Gosu, there is something here that will hook you completely. Each of these stories takes the core concepts of cultivation and martial arts and twists them into something unique. proving that even in a genre filled with clichés, true quality shines through. We barely scratched the surface of the amazing techniques and plot twists these series contain, so your next step is to pick one and start reading. Do not just take my word for it. Experience the hype yourself. If you have already read these, let the community know in the comments which one reigns supreme in your eyes, or tell us which hidden gem we should cover in part 2. The world of martial arts is endless, and the next great adventure is just one chapter away. Thanks for tuning in, and happy reading.